Wendy, you want to play some different music and lay by?
You can. Oh, you want me to? I don't have anything queued up. But
Okay. You can try. I still can't take him, so I'm just gonna 86 him no matter what.
yeah, thank you.
It's too much. It's too
Okay,
much. I'm gonna
this
make
is
you a producer.
all right.
There
Okay,
you
stand
are.
by. I can probably find something to play, but I don't have anything on my P4. Stand by. I'm not gonna go on video yet, right?
No, that's fine too. I can try to hit up the SoundCloud and let's see what I can do from Dan's
Yeah,
stuff if you want.
thanks. Share with my followers. I think. There we go.
Out on the front porch, baby, swinging. You got me thinking about all that
Turn it down just a tad.
had.
So it's background music.
Just come and lay down by my sweetness. You are my weakness, just melt in my hand.
Is that playing right off of your phone?
Got you feeling alright. It is your body moving. Come on, do it all night.
Do you think Bad Bunny cursed the show by saying the audience is small? How are you playing that?
I got a place I know you need this. Wanna be
Can you hear me?
all that can.
Obviously, no.
Just tell him what you gotta say. It's just so hard to be there. So
Judy, this is Deanna's husband, Danny, who is the singer-songwriter of this song.
So I really can't hear you too well, Wendy.
I know you can't. So you maybe want to just turn that down a little bit.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, and I'm playing it from my phone, so I can't change the volume, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's almost 7:05, and where are those guys?
You know.
Seriously. All right. So we're going
to say it.
I think that all right, let's do a little bit of sound check for your audio because I feel as though you were breaking up just a little bit, and I'm so sorry.
Okay, can you hear me? I don't know what I can really change
that's good.
about my
That's
audio.
good.
That's the real problem.
No, you sound good. You sound good.
Okay.
You sound good.
Okay. It might be my voice because it's going.
I can imagine. I think that it is when our two audio channels intermix, and that creates this, what do you call it in audio? It creates this, lost for the words, but it messes, it makes it sound like it's staticky, but it's only because it's two channels trying to work against each other.
Right. So what you're saying is don't talk over each other.
Is Wendi, don't interrupt Deanna so many times tonight.
It's not you, believe me.
It is. I do interrupt you too much. So anyway, let's just get on with the show. All right.
Yeah,
hey, Jen. Jen's here. Jen is the producer of Sidebar.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
We have somebody with some legalese. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I have no idea how easy she is with her legal knowledge, but I love that she's here and it's awesome. We're super excited, by the way. So we're trying to let the audience build a little bit. If everybody can share in the bottom left-hand corner in your little hamburger there, make sure to share this video or this show. That would be great with all your followers. I always just select all and I'll send it out. So I don't play any favoritism for anybody that follows me. Deanna, do you do the same?
I do.
Well,
Because it's
that's what I think we
entirely,
all should be doing.
yeah. Let's call it being fair and not being lazy.
Exactly. Exactly. Because if you had to scroll through and find people that you wanted to share it with, can you? I mean, for me, it's a lot of people. So that's kind of like select all. Okay, that works. So we'll be coming on video a little bit later. I think that we're waiting for Dale and Bad Bunny to join us. Hopefully, they didn't lie to us 10 minutes ago when they said they would be here.
Right?
The show is an open format. Uh, and we're super, 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 right, Deanna? We are super excited to talk
Or, or,
about
or very, very, very one of the two.
super, super, super excited to talk about the Heard today, Amber Heard. And I might surprise you with what I
Okay.
think I have to say. I still don't even know what I have to say. So,
I have stuff to say too. Okay, good.
so
I hope
we'll
it's
be
surprising.
this is a show spawned because both Deanna and I are domestic violence survivors. So we take the point of view, and why we are doing this show, we thought it would be fun or interesting to take that point of view from a female survivors. I was super domestic violence, planned my escape in my 20s. Deanna had a very long experience that is really the only thing you can do is laugh after.
Right.
Because both of them sucked like big time.
Right.
So that's what we're doing here. Hey, Brandy. And all of my things I'm getting notices. Anyway, we're going to get on with the show. Deanna, right? I'm going to play the little trailer that we have to catch people up, just not catch them up, but what the show's all about. And then I can play clips. We're going to discuss everything that happened today with the first day of Amber Heard.
Yes, party.
Okay, so here we go. We're just playing this little short one, Brandy. It is not the long one from last night, but thanks for sticking around all night last night. Here we go. Welcome, everyone, to the Daily DeppHeard AfterBuzz show with Deanna and myself, Wendi Cooper. Just to recap everything before we jump into the show, this is all about actor Johnny Depp, who is suing ex-wife Amber Heard for $50 million for defamation in connection with Heard's 2018 Washington op-ed piece in which she spoke about being the victim of domestic violence. Heard's article, it did not specifically name Depp as her alleged abuser, but according to Depp's lawsuit, it relied, quote, on the central premise that Ms. Heard was a domestic abuse victim and that Mr. Depp perpetrated domestic violence against her. Amber Heard is now, she's countersuing for $100 million. This is where we take the clips of the day, kind of, or the topics of the day, or maybe it's just the testimonies of the day. Quite frankly, it's all pretty absurd. It's quite boring. But, we never know when something magical is going to happen. Today was one of those days. But that doesn't mean that every day is going to be. So Monday through Thursday, join Deanna and I, two domestic violence survivors, hosts here of our own shows on Fireside, pick apart, make fun, find the laughter after, and everything that trauma and drama has to do and bring us in life. So decide right now, or maybe later, or maybe never. Are you Depp? Are you Heard? Are you DeppHeard? Or you don't just give a crap. Anyway, let's have some fun. Let's come up on stage. Let's share your viewpoints. Let's act like the adults that we are and have some fun here on this live platform that I guess, word has it, we all adore, called Fireside. Let's get on with the show. Thanks for being here, everyone. Created live on Fireside. What a great segue. Created I knew it was going to happen. On Fire. I have to re-push that button, everyone. So Deanna.
Well, yes.
It's the day we've been waiting for.
It is. Are we going on video?
Yes, we are. And anybody else that wants to come on up. Okay. So, stand by. I don't even know how to do my own thing. Oh, turn on video. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an hour home. Oh boy. Okay, so Deanna. So Deanna will always take the analytical approach for those of you that are new in the show. And I kind of take this questionable approach. Even I question my approach sometimes. But so far, I am Team Depp, like I think most of America has been, the world. You are undecided because you are a trauma coach.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm leaning to Depp, but I'm keeping an open mind is basically where I am. Like, he seems like a victim, but I'm not ruling her out only because we hadn't heard from her yet. But we did today, so I have stuff to say.
So how, right, but we don't want to say anything about anything unless we set it up. So what part of her testimony do you want to focus on first? And then I'll try to find a clip from that because we're going to talk about body language, right? I'm going to talk about a few things that I had a lot of empathy for, right? And we're going to talk about other things. And you, as a trained person to look at the body language, is so important to watch the video on YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. In order to, and not just listen to it. So I can't wait to discuss this. But I've got her all pulled up here, ladies and gentlemen. And do you want me to just start playing part of her testimony?
You can play any clip you want because I think starting with her childhood was a place where I was being totally won, So do you have some clips that come from the very beginning with her childhood?
Well, you can nutshell her childhood. Her childhood for me was extremely disappointing. She grew up in Maynard.
Yes. It wasn't as dramatic as I had anticipated to be. Right. But when she told the story, I believed her. Right?
Well, of course you you believed her because she grew up in Maynard. Her dad was a constructionist. Her dad broke horses. It was all true. There was nothing. Her mom worked for the state of Texas. There was nothing, not so salacious like the attorney. Her attorney had presented, or oh no, maybe it was a psychologist yesterday, where her growing up was so horrific, with parents all heroined out on the couch, and she had to take care of the little sister. She didn't really say that today.
No, she didn't, but I think that was on purpose. I do kind of feel like, and this was something I thought about when I was listening to it, because I felt like, are we going to gloss over her childhood so as to blame the trauma on this incident and this situation, and not that she has PTSD from her childhood? And so, I don't know.
I have the one clip I have for sure pulled up right now is the MDMA one, when they took that on the airplane and the whole lover thing and all that. That was just, when she was explaining that was really interesting. But I had a lot of questions about the growing up. So let me find that, and you can fill in the audience with whatever. I cannot multitask and talk at the same time. I'm looking.
Oh, no, I get that. I get that. Right. And I appreciate that you're doing clips, because I really am not very good at that. I'm going to get better at it, but it might be by the time the trial is over. But
conveniently so.
Conveniently. Accidentally on purpose. So for me, when she talked about, so what I was looking for when she was talking about her childhood was just her body language, what she looks like. I know nothing of Amber Heard, right? Like, so we are familiar with Johnny. We've seen him on interviews. We've seen him talking inside the Actors Guild, all these places where he could just let down his hair, be himself. And we're kind of like, we don't know him. Well, you might know him a little more, but familiarity with his mannerisms, how he talks, his nature, some of that stuff. So when Johnny gets on the stand and he's charming and he's smirking and he's speaking in symbolism, sometimes it doesn't surprise us. It all sounds real. It sounds authentic. It sounds natural. It sounds just like all the other times we've ever heard Johnny talk. I'm not even calling them Miss and Mr. anymore. I'm just calling them by their first name, like I'm buddies with them. So, but for her, I don't know her that much. I haven't seen much about her in the public. She's young and new. And so I wanted to see some stuff where I could clue in and be in tune with her body language, the way she talked, all of that stuff. And when she was testifying with the questions that had to do with her family, with her mom, with her dad, what they did, what it meant to break in a horse, all of those things, even though it wasn't about the fact that it was all trauma, for me, all of those things gave me a little bit of a foundation to maybe have intuition about the rest of the stuff that she was going to talk about. Because it's easy for me to compare her to me and how I reacted or how I would have felt or how I would have dealt with this. But not everybody deals with it exactly the same. But there are still some markers that you can look for and you can pick up on.
Okay,
And
so
I find that
I'm really trying. Hold on, I'm really trying to find it. Let's see. The only reason I'm interrupting you is that none of the clips that they have on YouTube of Amber Heard today are of her telling her childhood story. It's all of the MDMA.
fine. I don't think we can hear it. We don't need to hear it. I think me saying what I had to say about it was just me thinking, okay, this is a good foundation because just
I'd like to
watching
find
her.
a little bit of a clip. I want to find a little bit.
Okay.
I think I might have done it. I think this might be it. Looks like this was the
I
opening.
did. I was taking jobs in Austin
Oh yeah.
for really anything, to be an extra.
She talks about the same thing every young actress. Huh? Okay, here.
Even this, laying the groundwork. This was all stuff where I was learning her.
I had to write, I think I gave 7 witness statements under oath testimony.
I'm going to skip that.
Stay on.
And what, if anything, did you learn from your father about how to react to the horses?
Okay, so back up.
And
it's right around
I grew
here.
up with a little sister, although I have a big sister as well.
And your little sister's name is?
Her name is Whit Heard.
And how much of an age difference is there between the two of you?
Whitney and I are about 1 year. I think we're 16 months apart. So right next to each other.
And what did your father do for a living?
My father broke horses and did construction. He painted houses, and hunted and fished. But that was for fun.
And what did your mom do?
She worked for the state of Texas.
Let me just, since you talked about the breaking horses, can you just tell the jury what your role is in assisting your dad on that and what is involved in breaking horses?
Objection leading.
Can you just tell me about?
Overruled.
She overruled a lot today.
You just got to stay on, basically. I would help him. I was more of a crash test dummy. When you train a horse, it's a wild animal. It doesn't necessarily like to be ridden.
I was so tough.
There are people out there who are crazy enough, like my dad, to pick that as a profession.
This is so fake. Right here, this was so fake.
He was really good with
sorry.
horses, and I was the son he never had, so it was my job to
Fall
stay
off
on.
the horse.
And what, if anything, did you learn from your father about how to react to the horses?
Get out of the
Well,
way.
with training horses, I guess the key things are to not show fear, not get intimidated, not show fear, be tough and calm.
Right.
Tell the
This
jury a
was
little bit
totally a
about-
staged.
Yeah.
That whole statement right there to ask about how did you react to the horse's behavior.
It was scripted.
Is
It was scripted. Yeah.
And I feel like there was a lot where she was using all the right words.
Mhm.
So I fell in and out of belief of her testimony. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
There were places where I was convinced, and there were places where I was like, this is total acting. This is overacting. This is, you are using clinical jargon, which, I mean,
But Johnny was
never.
the love of her life. He was the love of my life. Anyway,
Exactly.
all right,
But okay,
let's talk
Wendi, I have a question for you. If you were 23,
I was
26.
exactly that age when it was happening to me.
Okay, no, but what I'm saying, if you were 23 or 26 and you got called to a film and it was Johnny Depp or whoever, but somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you got called to a film and it was Johnny Depp, and then you got kind of plucked out of that. You got some attention, some recognition.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me you don't play into that? You're not infatuated with
nobody,
that?
nobody said anybody would not play into that. Every woman who's trying to be an actress in Hollywood would play into definitely that. Sure.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I would be so a fangirling, I wouldn't even be able to think straight, especially at that age.
I wouldn't. No. That's because you would be fangirling. I wouldn't. I don't fan.
Right. But I mean, I feel like maybe I wouldn't now, but I think if I was 26 and breaking into Hollywood and I was in that position, I totally would. And then you get the attention.
She contradicts herself. All right. She does contradict herself on this point that you're talking about, because she will say that in one sentence, I believe she says, I didn't know who he was. I wasn't a fan, but he was super famous. Right? When she was on her way to this casting of, so how it works is that you just don't typically get called up. But if that's how you kind of move through the ranks in Hollywood, is who knows who. Everybody who knows who. Right. It's not your agent. It's not your headshot. It's not any of that. It's basically who knows who, what roles are coming up. And then there's all of this packaging that happens and these attachments and stuff. So she was doing what every young actor that comes from everywhere in the world, that is every waitress in Los Angeles, they are actors, and this is the path that they take, and they all work very hard to finally maybe make it, right? And she no. So the answer to your question is not really, because she was already on this path. She had already come to Los Angeles. She's already would do anything to get a role in. If you offered a role in a Johnny Depp film, I mean, seriously, about Hunter Thompson. I mean, it's like. It was a dream come true for her. But when she's on the stand, she says, I didn't really know who he was, but he was super famous. I wasn't a fan.
But she did that on a lot of occasions. And so the idealize and then demoralize, idealize and then demoralize. He was so amazing. He was so loving. Mm-hmm. And he was the monster. And I get that there are two faces when you're dealing with addictive behaviors. I get that. Mm-hmm. I get it. I've dealt with addictive behaviors. I get it. But it wasn't only around the addiction and the idealizing and sensationalizing and putting him up on his pedestal and then knocking him down is very indicative of borderline personality disorder. It's very
Well,
indicative of that personality disorder.
it was interesting. I will find the clip, but when she explains how she went to a red carpet event and he said to he didn't, she thought she felt really beautiful and looked beautiful, but he didn't validate that to her. And so when she came home, because she felt like she really looked pretty, and what he said to her, I thought was very, I'll find it eloquent almost, in saying, well, if you're going to represent yourself like that here in Hollywood, then this is what you're going to be known for. So the underlying message was, so be careful of how you represent yourself. And,
Right.
and
those are the
she
roles
said
you're
it was a
gonna get.
really low cut dress or something. Right. But,
Aren't they all?
yeah, but I didn't read that from how she recited it. And she totally recited it, like almost verbatim. It sounded like as anything, but it's something he would say, but not something that was, she just took it. She didn't get the validation she needed from him. Like, yes, you looked beautiful or whatever. He told her the truth in saying, if that's how you want to present yourself to the public, that's what you're going to be known for. In so many words, in Johnny Depp words.
And you have what? You have a 40-year veteran who is giving you some advice on which ways you want to go and what decisions you might want to make so that you don't get typecast in this one way. And that means in 10 years from now, you're of no value to anyone if that's the only thing. You have to work so much harder to get out of that. So I do. I think it was valid advice. I think that she, again, is exhibiting some of those behaviors from the way she was described by Dr. Curry with the two personality type disorders.
Yeah. So here, because I have this clip here, let's hear her. I mean, after all, she's on drugs. I'm looking at the closed captioning. When she tells the story about being on the airplane and taking the MDMA, I mean, okay, you got to hear this, how she explains, how she justifies. And then the airline stewardess, flight attendant, takes it too. You got to hear this.
Oh my God. Play the justification. This is amazing.
Took over. It was relatively quick, soon after we first took our dose.
You got to go before that.
And the flight attendant, Johnny offered her some. She, of course, said no. And then after some back and forth between them, Johnny convinced her that it would be fine. So she acquiesced and took MDMA with us. And within, a few minutes go by, and the same thing happened that happened on the mushrooms at Hicksville with the woman, Kelly Sue, who I've told you about. Flight attendant got friendly with me, but just friendly, just like MDMA friendly, was kind of, I'm a woman, he's a man, so she was naturally.
So just so you guys know, Amber Heard is bisexual. Is that proper to say that?
Physically, she kind of leaned into me.
Huh?
I think the part you're looking for, where she explains why she took it, is before this.
Oh, okay, here.
She talks about her taking it before the.
Yeah, here, it's right here.
2013. There was a plane ride to Russia with Johnny. Do you recall that?
This is one of her.
Tell the jury about that particular event.
Well, that was the first and last time I ever decided it would be a decent idea to do drugs with Johnny. I did MDMA
not counting those mushrooms
on the plane, which was as stupid as it may sound. I just had never. I was very against. Obviously, the cocaine had been a problem. I was very much against him using cocaine. I was against the drinking, supportive of the sobriety, but I'm 26 maybe ish. And I wanted, I had never heard of anyone making
Jen.
MDMA like what I had done MDMA before. I thought it's a lovey drug. It's a,
it's a thing you take before you have a menage a trois.
I never knew anyone to get by with. And, I thought, well, this is a relatively contained environment. Maybe this will be different. Maybe I can be a good cop and be
30,000 feet in the air.
Like I don't have to be
right. It's a relatively
camp counselor all the time, as you would say. I can.
Did you hear that? He would call her a lesbian camp counselor.
And I learned the hard way that was not happening.
What happened?
Well, we took.
Do you want to keep going?
MDMA. I took a capsule.
Because
powder in a capsule. I took a capsule, and Johnny took several. I didn't count, but it's very different when you see someone take one versus a handful of something. But nothing seemed to set any alarm bells off, and things were going fine until the flight attendant got involved. The flight attendant came by, was engaging with us. I don't think that they're really, it felt like it was before the effects of the drug took over. It was relatively quick, soon after we first took our dose, if you can say. And the flight attendant, Johnny offered her some, she of course said no. And then after some back and forth between them, Johnny convinced her that it would be fine. So she acquiesced and took MDMA with us.
I wonder what airline that was.
And within, a few minutes go by, and the same thing happened that happened on the mushrooms at Hicksville with the woman, Kelly Sue, who I've told you about. Flight attendant got friendly with me, but just friendly, just
leaned over,
MDMA friendly,
to kiss me.
Was kind of, I'm a woman, he's a man, so she was naturally, I think, more comfortable with me physically. She kind of leaned into me and kind of sat on the arm of the chair I was sitting in. I mean, after all, she's on drugs.
And I'm Amber Heard.
Johnny grabs her hand and tells her not to touch me. And she kind of reacts in a way like she's defending herself and was trying to clarify. And he grabbed her by the wrist and slammed it down on the table and told her he could break her wrist. And I remember thinking, I've heard this before. And that was a pattern that would repeat itself a few times. These things would happen in these kind of cycles where there would be a certain element that would get filtered for a while.
Where's the stewardess? I want to know the stewardess. That's so not okay, Wendi. Where's the flight attendant to testify to this? You think she's going to be a witness?
Well, they, so I listened to a little bit of the after show. I didn't get to listen as much as I usually do, but I listened a little bit to the court after the show. They have it, whatever. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, we get it, Deanna. You listen to the after show. Right,
on Court TV. But
okay.
And I couldn't think of the name of the stupid show. Anyway, she's supposed to be testifying. There's a long list of witnesses that they have. So whether she shows up or not, I don't know. But it apparently is on the list.
Oh, okay. So that was the quick answer. I saw your comment, Jen. It's so true, isn't it? It's like, I showed up at this meeting, but I had no idea who he was, but he was famous at the time. But, she was peeing her pants when she got called to that Johnny Depp meeting. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So should I continue a little bit?
No, I have something to say on this because, again, this is the same thing. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing that I knew he was a famous actor, but I didn't know who Johnny Depp was. Okay, it's the same thing. Oh, I don't take drugs. I never did this stuff. Of course, I've taken ecstasy before. It's like what you can't keep what you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth and then expect people to continue to believe that you are credible, and that is a problem. And you just had given testimony that you did mushrooms, so you do drugs. You ordered weed. You do all of you.
And you
Can you
love
say
red
you don't do
wine.
cocaine? You might be able to say you don't do coke, but you've done all the rest of this stuff, and I don't even know if you can say you don't do coke. But so far, everything else with Johnny, you've done. So far.
Well,
And
maybe when you wear your hair half up, half down like that, it gives you a reason to
let me try it.
to be confused about which one you are, right? That's all I can figure out.
Was she trying to block her face from Johnny when she turned to talk to the jury?
No, I just think she has a really bad hair person. And this was, let's do half down. And they had no idea whatsoever that she was going to be like half this person, half this person today. So it kind of makes sense, right?
Yes. But what is it in Batman? Two-Face?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Totally.
So so it's 7:37, and Bad Bunny, did you want to come up at all and jump up on stage?
Or anybody else?
And Jen, Tony,
people talk.
We welcome stage bombing. Brandy, if you're going to just sit down there in the audience again, I am going to personally pull you on up because I really would love you to join us. And Judy too. Weidi can stay down in the audience. Yay, Jen's coming up. Hey, Jen.
Hey. So let me just say, first of all, I'm not an attorney. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Did you want to go on video or you want to stay?
No.
Okay.
My house is a mess. I can't do that right now.
And mine's perfect.
I'm just like, I'm not an attorney. I'm not speaking on behalf of like our show and the show I produce. I think I have to say that first and foremost. I'm talking as Jen Franks, a survivor of domestic violence. I am just like so embarrassed by this entire story because I feel like it is such a charade of nonsense and we've stepped 32,000 feet backwards. Like, I am not indifferent of, I know men are abused, I know women are abused. I am split between that. I am happy that any brave man comes out and says he's being abused, or any woman, of course, for that matter. But I am just like so bummed out, I've got to say. We have somebody that's on the stand that is like, oh, I recall every single moment to a T, but I was on acid, drugs, shroom. Like, it's just crazy to me. And it really sets back how far survivors have come and how far we're trying to go. It's just a disappointment. It really is. And the whole world is watching because after all, it is Johnny Depp. And for her to say, I didn't know who Johnny Depp was. Like, are you for real? Everybody knows who he was. And she definitely saw the movie Blow. Okay. Give me a break.
Right. Who didn't? And who didn't love it?
Right. And who doesn't love Johnny Depp? And who is Amber Heard? Like, I just, I don't want to go against.
Let me ask you something, Jen. I have a question for you.
I'm going to mute myself because I don't want to interject.
Oh, we're echoing.
So, Jen, a question for you in this regard, because I didn't know that you also were a survivor and coming from this angle, right? And that's why Wendi and I decided to do this show like this. And I surprised myself. I think Wendi surprised herself too. We didn't want to think this of Johnny, but we really went in giving Amber some credibility from Jump Street. Let's just say it, because pun intended. Because right. All right. So because you sympathize with the person, or you try to empathize with the person who says they've been victimized, because typically that's just not a common thing that you would drag out into the public the way it has been done.
Right. I mean,
that's not the case.
Yeah, and as I'm sure you all know, it is the most terrifying thing to finally share, announce, flee. It is
Yeah.
not something that you want to publicly portray or how do I
Recount.
correctly?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You don't
You
want to
know, even this
Absolutely.
story has made me retreat more because I'm in the
Yes.
throes of it. And here's the other thing: like I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never named my abuser. I would never do such a thing. This is my story of fleeing and becoming free. But at the same time, like I'm now even more scared to like, you know, work on behalf of any domestic violent nonprofits or kids healing from trauma. I did start a nonprofit for children affected by childhood trauma, and now I'm like scared to even talk about it.
Well,
That's
Because
so
you know,
interesting. The collateral
because then it's like,
damage.
oh my goodness, am I going to be sued for defamation? Oh wait, I've never, you know, publicly, you know, am I allowed to even proudly say that I'm a survivor? You know, so
right.
even to be
So
on
this
this right
is
now,
I know. I
you know,
feel you.
exactly.
I totally feel you, Jen, for sure, especially professionally and everything like that. I really,
it's a
uh,
huge deal.
mm,
What you both are doing, I really commend and applaud because, as you both said, you're survivors of violence, and thank you, because this is really what it's about right here, is having an open platform to talk about it and try to ensue some sort of change. It's just this whole skeptical. I honestly don't even watch the trial because it like is kind of
triggering.
traumatizing and triggering
It's
for me.
triggering. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really, really, really
Yeah.
affects me. So
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
watch it.
So
Yeah.
we've been
Well, we're
saying the
doing this
same
show,
thing.
so I have to watch it, or
Right.
else I
We've
probably
been
wouldn't
saying the
watch
same
it.
thing. Wendy and I are like, all right, we're going to have to take a break. And I was like, well, the court is dark next week. And we're like, ah, thank God
Thank
we get a
God.
minute.
I
But
honestly,
the
when you were
thing,
looking up clips, I was like, oh my gosh, let me jump on my Mac right now. I got to find these clips. And then I'm like, because, you know,
yeah,
Oh,
okay.
you go on a
So,
rabbit hole. I'm telling you.
can I ask you guys a
but here,
question though?
Yes.
sure.
Have you seen Phoenix Rising on
Okay.
Hulu?
No, I haven't,
Now,
but I
oh
obviously they
my
mentioned that.
goodness.
Wait a
So in the
second. You
after
haven't
show
seen
that I
that?
watched for like 10 minutes, they mentioned that movie. Yes. One of the
You,
attorneys.
oh, did they mention it in the thing?
No, 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 not in the trial. I
Okay.
watched the little after show for about 10 minutes because I like
Yeah.
to, there's an after show with like four attorneys, and I like to just kind of hear what they say. And they're all over the place. And that's kind of what I
Mhm.
like. But one of them mentioned the movie. So I definitely have to watch that.
I watched like I think it's a 4-part series. I watched it. It was like really, really spot on to, I mean, that I really, really enjoyed and felt it was genuine and sincere and mind opening and an example for like all people to watch to see like what goes on, you know.
Oh my God. So it's on HBO.
No,
It's
Hulu.
oh, it's on Hulu? Okay. I'll
Well,
Yes.
it
watch it.
might
My
be on
With
husband.
Evan
Netflix.
Rachel Wood, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
I should get credit for
Amazing.
pronouncing this. I'm just kidding.
Well, so here's
Um,
another question, Wendy, because you and I
Oh,
watched
wow.
it. Did you see any actual tears?
You know, I was going to try to find that. I sometimes am not watching because I do other things too. But so when I was hearing her teary up and all of that, no, but they say she did cry, but I don't recall seeing actual
She not one.
like when you cry, your eyes well up, your cheeks get, red, you get
your
flushed.
whole chin quivers. There's no holding
Yeah.
that back. When you're giving testimony,
So
sorry
I
that I
will
jumped
give
in.
her that her chin did quiver once that I noticed,
Was in
but I not one time saw her even as much as do this. She didn't even do the bachelorette eye wipe to keep her You know what I'm saying? Like there was no
Yeah,
patting
it's
of tears away from her eyelids. It is, I don't know. It's
even when she was saying, but I loved him so much. And he just was, and then he did a cavity search and he was looking for the cocaine and he wanted to know. I mean, she really went into some details, you guys. So
Oh my gosh.
can we jump to that part? Okay, here are the things that my abuser was a cocaine user. Okay. So when she talks about all of that stuff, there's certain things that she talked about today that I completely related to, I have to say. And it made me question a little bit, and it made me open up my eyes a little bit that she's either coached really well, but when she was really explaining in detail the actual situation that was happening to her, like when it was that down and dirty fight, not anything that we're talking about here, but like the details of having sex with him and all of this stuff. It's salacious and all that. I felt she was telling the truth. I felt she was really, really exploring her feelings deep inside and was talking about that. I did feel that was the truth, I have to say.
So, and there were parts, like I said, I went back and forth with it. And I think her testimony goes back and forth. I think it swings. And when you're giving, so
does she. No, I'm kidding.
Right. See, there is
She's
laughter.
fresh.
Oh, shoot. But anyway, so, like there are parts that are, like if I feel like she's moving in and out of character, you know what I mean? That's what it felt like to me.
100%.
Like she couldn't hold herself in character. And when she was in character, it was the acting, which was not believable. I don't think she's that great of an actor. And when she was not in character, is the parts that you could kind of believe. But in situations where you disengage, as she described that she does, I disconnect. I just go somewhere else. And she starts describing it. And then she gets a little clinical about it, like it's what she read in the DSM, right? And then, but then turns around and describes every little facet of the situation. I find it difficult for you to be disengaged, disconnected, but then remember minute details of what the counter looked like, the floor looked like, the this looked like, those two things don't go together. You're either hyper vigilant and aware or you're disengaged. Again, you cannot be both.
I totally
And so
agree.
there are pieces that I'm just like,
you need to be an expert witness there, girlfriend. Okay, here, I'll play this. Here, I think this is one of her things.
And slams me up by my neck and holds me there for a second and tells me that he could fucking kill me. And that was an embarrassment. I was embarrassing. It was embarrassment. This whole thing was a joke. It was all embarrassment. I made him feel sick. And I'll never forget. I'm very, very, very much in love with this whole family now. And he's saying I'm embarrassing to him. And that somehow stuck in me more than the I could fucking kill you. It just sounded like hyperbole. It sounded like something he was just saying. But the names that he was calling me, kind of just pushing me up against the wall by my neck, hurt my feelings. It hurt. When I saw Lily Rose again, we get
the daughter.
I won't say what she told me, but the next thing we do is we call for a helicopter to come and take us off of the boat or off of the island. So we leave the boat, go to the landing of a part of the island, or maybe it was a different island we had to get to leave, and we take off. I'm holding Lily Rose literally holding her under my arm while she's crying, and we're lifting off. And Jack ended up not coming with us at the last minute. He stayed behind And we were taking off, and I remember being really torn about leaving. I felt bad about leaving, even though that had happened. I still felt awful leaving. I felt awful leaving him. I also felt like I had done something wrong. You know, he was mad at me. I wasn't sure, you know, or what I had done, but I remember not being, you know, I'm getting all these text messages from him calling me all these names, and it barely coherent, barely. And I'm holding his daughter crying.
And let me just stop you for a moment. Michelle, can you pull up?
So then they pull up the text messages that are just all full of,
Yeah. So here's the thing, though.
Too bad.
The most impactful part for her was that she was embarrassed. That he said that she was an embarrassment to him. Not the abuse, not the physical abuse. That was no big deal, right? Just that she felt embarrassed at that he felt embarrassed by her. There's more to this story, because there's no way, just based on what she said, that makes any sense. But also, it is indicative of the personality disorders as well, because that's what she's honing in. What's that?
Can I say something?
Sure.
And then I'll totally jump off the stage. I'm so sorry.
No, you
I
don't have to jump off at all.
Stay. But I'm like, if you are being held up and choked and strangled, your feelings are not hurt. You're not thinking about feelings. You are not thinking about, oh my gosh, this kid's staying here. I've got this one on my hip. Like, we just got on the helipad. Like, if you're being choked and strangled, absolutely not. You are not like, oh my God, my feelings are just hurt because I invested in this family. That is not what you're thinking. You're thinking about survival if that's what's happening to you. So I'm sorry that a lot of this is just making me. Oof.
I agree. So that's where, is she telling the truth, or is she lying, or is she hybriding it, right? She's telling a hybrid story.
And is she
a little bit of lies, a little bit of truth?
We all know there's coaching.
Yes. She's definitely
absolutely coached. She's almost trying to recollect what she's been coached on as well. And now I'm not all against her. I'm really indifferent of my opinion on what's what. Just, I'm literally forming my opinion based off these clips, which you're doing it not based on seeing her visually, right? You're not seeing her. Yeah, no, I haven't watched. No, not at all.
That just kind of like seals the deal for you then, because.
Well, I don't know. I think they're both. I think it's just an entirely volatile situation where there's drugs involved, there's narcissism involved, there's sociopathy involved.
Welcome to Hollywood,
right? I mean, and I'm no expert, but this just is nutty.
But you know, the thing, going back to the coaching, I think that in everything that has led up to this, she has been coached, and now she can no longer be coached. But she is a person who knows how to memorize her lines, right?
Oh my God.
And that's where you can where you can see her processing through, trying to make sure she's saying the right things, where she's like, and
maybe it was an island, but wait a minute, it could have been a boat. I think it was a boat to an island. Yeah, that's the ticket.
Right. Or, you know, like backing up and correcting something that she said to kind of smooth over the way she said it, because she might have realized, oh, I said this. I can't think of a specific incident, but that's what she did in a couple of places where she kind of said something, and then she said something on the side of that to kind of make sure you didn't misconstrue what she said, but it's already said. So now then it becomes, okay, well, you were coached and you want to make sure you're covering your ass. That's kind of what it starts to feel like. And it's been interesting.
So her side is the defense, right?
Yes.
Like I said, I have any, like.
Yeah, he's the plaintiff. Like, she's a defendant.
Okay, and now she's countersuing, right?
Yes.
For $100 million. Yes. I only know that because I, heard your
and
lovely.
Jen, they the entire trial, they've had forensic like accountants on Johnny's side, right? So that has all taken place, and they've shown his loss. They've really, they've had psychologists and all sorts of people, doormen and people that have been around him for 30 years, and everybody's like, no, he would never hurt a soul, no. And now she's kind of coming along, and you can hear the underlying thing. It's like, well, wait a minute, do you really believe them for sure? Kind of thing. I mean, when you think about it, it's like,
I mean, I hate to say it, I just kind of think it's yet another example of Hollywood taking over a social issue that is not their place to be the representatives of. They are not in any place to be representing
Right.
this, like represent the arts of theatrical emulation of
Stay
a
in your
story,
lane.
but just please stay in your lane and let us deal with social rights and justice. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. I'll kick myself off the stage. I've taken up so much time.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We want people up here and engaging with this. And that's a number one, because I do think it backpedals
so
all the work that's been done with this,
but
women
isn't it
being
always
willing to come forward and being believed.
right? But isn't it always good to have awareness? I think what Jen is maybe saying is it's just kind of like the wrong tone of awareness for a very serious problem. So instead of like as the
That's
days go
absolutely
by,
what I'm saying.
yeah,
Because we've come so far lately, through a
We're the-
pandemic, through domestic, like
Yeah.
so many more people have been abused through this pandemic. And now, after all of this, we're going back to work. We're getting back on track. And folks are like kind of feeling like, okay, like, oh my goodness, there's all this legislation that's coming forward
I
to
know.
protect victims of domestic violence. Like even in the state I live in, Massachusetts, which is considered one of the most liberal states, is finally trying to pass law to protect victims and children and people and families. And it's just like something like this just is such a big takeaway, and it's a bummer. It's like, what do we fight
Yeah.
for?
Right. And the thing is too, though, on the flip side of this, I personally know someone who, they were, I guess technically they were victims as the male. They don't view themselves that way, though, and that's another issue in and of itself. But the girl tried to play the victim, screaming out the back door, banging on things, and then saying it was he that was hurting her when he was nowhere near her. But the cops come and he's the one that gets arrested. So it is.
Yeah, and I'm so against that too. Like I have two
Right.
sons, I have two daughters, and it breaks my heart. Like to think, oh my goodness, my sons could be accused of something that they didn't even ever do. But
Right.
and so
And
I'm
so
not
there's
even going to
that-
say but. I'm just going to say the takeaway is that it's got to be looked at as like a non-gender. It does not discriminate against gender, socioeconomic status, like none of that. We have to look at this situation as like the facts, the evidence, and it's just a very difficult topic, and we haven't gotten it right, and it's going to take a long time. But nonsense and chaos like this glorified Hollywood narcissistic flying on jets and doing shrooms is just, I mean, it's a bummer.
Yeah, it's actually, you're right. It's like my whole thing is I live in LA. I've worked in entertainment for a million years. And it just is like, this is like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's like what happens in Hollywood, yes, I could tell a million stories and all of us can, but we don't, right? Because it's that whole, what you're getting into, how everybody, it would surprise the crap out of you, the people and the lifestyle they actually live behind their front doors. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I don't think it surprised me, but that's the thing, they live in a bubble, and that is the truth. She kept talking about this little bubble. Well, no, she hadn't entered the bubble yet. She was
she
experiencing the
couldn't
bubble
wait to get in the bubble. You can't wait to get
Right.
in that bubble.
But she was experiencing this bubble, this protection that is around people like Johnny Depp who have security and drivers and people that do everything for them. And when they screw up, they make sure somebody's around to help take care of the messes that they make and all of that kind of stuff. That doesn't justify cleaning up messes like domestic violence, but these guys don't have to put up with that either. They can work anywhere, but they stick with him, and there's something that says something about his character when that happens. And so, it's just, but yes, they're in a bubble. They live in a different world. This is not what everyday person who might be experiencing domestic violence deals with. This is not the world we live in. This is a separate entity altogether. And then they're just pouring all of that out onto people as well because, hey, to get to the truth, you have to expose all of this stuff because it's relevant.
It's defamation. It's a defamation case for sure. But the
Foundation,
so
objection, foundation,
overruled. Sustained.
hearsay. What about hearsay? Will hearsay work? Today they went through like 3 of them. What about hearsay?
What do you mean hearsay? That's not hearsay. It's not hearsay. Well, why isn't it hearsay? That's not hearsay.
And she's like, well, what about foundation? It's like,
so, Jen, I have this. Hey, Natalie and Allison. There are men in the audience. But anyway, I have this thing about the attorney for Amber Heard, the female attorney. I think that she's completely in love with her. And, there's this, and I did not know anything about Amber Heard, that she was married to a woman at one point or anything like that, which I'm totally cool. Totally. I mean, more cool with than you know. Okay. But it's so, it's interesting to watch their interactions and how she treats her so sweetly and kind of like, but when she talks about Johnny Depp violating her, it's like she's getting off on something, it's like she's raises her voice and gets really excited when she talks about the F word and the P for pussy and all this stuff. It's just hysterical. So my vibe says that she's really, really attracted to Amber Heard. And it might be, mutual. Might be mutual.
Maybe.
We don't know.
Maybe. So my takeaway from today was Dr. Curry said borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. And those two things are, borderline goes from one extreme to the other, right? You put them on a pedestal and then you knock them down, right? And the histrionic has that over exaggeration, very dramatic. And I just feel like everything that I watched today, even though there were parts I believed, don't get me wrong, I do think it fluctuated between what I believed and what I did not believe. I think that those two things like shone bright, right? It was the amazing Johnny. She would praise him in one end and knock him down, even when she wasn't talking about specifically abuse. It's always this build him up to tear him down.
We have to get Bad Bunny. Why are you not coming up here? In the pre-show, you had so much to say. You have to come up. Come on.
I know. He was like, I got to say stuff. I got stuff I want to talk about. Wait.
Yeah, I don't appreciate you coming into the show and not coming on stage after we do a whole pre-show. And we're super excited. We're going to discuss everything. What could have possibly happened in between?
In the 9 minutes till we got on here.
It's like, are you alive? Are you okay? And what happened to Dale, for crying out loud? He was supposed to be here too. All right. Now I worry. Now I'm like the mom that's going to worry that.
I know. That's what I do.
What happened to him?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll ignore him. Hey, Natalie, did anybody else want to come up? Allison, Tony, and give us maybe your 2 cents worth if you would
Judy
like.
down here. We have Judy down here in the audience.
Oh, Judy too. I can only see 4 people at a time, so that's why.
I know. You got to scroll.
And Brandy and Judy.
All your equipment. It's so much easier when you don't have all the microphone and equipment in front of you, Wendi. I'm like, just do it.
Well, I'll kick myself off so other people can come on, but I want to just say thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate the conversation
You're
very
welcome.
much.
I
And I think
appreciate
there's
that.
something to be said most definitely about children that go through trauma, and we have to reverse that pattern of trauma from the core, because kids see this stuff. Maybe not in this case, but according to Heard, in this case, allegedly, kids were involved.
Oh,
And
my kids
I got my kid wide awake now.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
No. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank
and
you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm sorry
Anytime.
for butting in it so much, but
You don't
it
need
is
to
a topic.
apologize. We did 12 people on the stage, so
It's
the
a
whole
topic
audience
so
could come
true
up
to
and-
my heart. So true to my heart.
Thank you so much for
guys.
sharing. Okay,
Thank
have a good
you.
night,
Thank
Jen.
you.
Thanks. All right, so Natalie, you don't have any thoughts? You don't want to come up and finish the sentence? You want to play a game? Let's finish
There
the
she
sentence.
is. Normally, she's taking a bath or something right now.
It is 11 o'clock in the Midwest. You all have to remember that I live on the bad coast. Like, I live on the coast where it's late by the time things get jumping.
Okay, wait a second. There is no coast in the Midwest, Natalie. There's no
Well,
coast. Unless you're on the coast of the
East
lake.
Coast.
Are you in Chicago?
no, I'm not. I grew up near Chicago. I just meant on the other side of the country. I'm not good at geography, Wendy.
No,
But you're not in the
American is.
Midwest. That's all I got to say.
Like,
So what do you think, Stink?
well,
What's going on?
So once again, my day was volatile. I failed to do any preparation for tonight's show, even though today was the day that I was waiting for, and it was for Amber to get to talk, because I felt like I would learn the most about this case once she started. But I want to, Deanna, you said the word fluctuating, and Jen kind of brought this up.
Sorry.
And Jen brought this up too. I think when this all started when Amber's story started to unwind, when we had been sold one narrative and then we all quickly kind of got whiplashed around into Johnny's narrative and all of it, I think what I held on to is, damn, they're both flawed. And it's like the Vegas thing. They were probably in a really toxic, abusive marriage on both ends. And I've seen several marriages where you're like, well, who did start this one? So who got to be victim and who got to be abuser tonight? And I think it could have stayed in the Vegas realm, where it was like, if you both could have just understood this is toxic and we're bringing out the worst in one another, it could have stayed right where it was and they both could have gotten help. And now it's this spectacle, and it's a spectacle that's affecting how everyone is viewing domestic abuse, to the point where now work that women have done to get their platform is being demeaned, and Johnny's being called a liar and a narcissist and an actor. And I just had a conversation with a woman who's going to be on my show yesterday. And I think it applies to this, because if we could all just start admitting when we're flawed and when we're hurt and when we've done the wrong thing too, even when we've tried to be okay people, I feel like we could just not get here where there's 50 million, 100 million on the line because Johnny feels like he was out a bunch of paychecks, which he was. And now Amber's going to be out a bunch of paychecks. And it's like, if y'all had just tried to do a little reflection on it, I feel bad for both of them at the end of the day.
I agree. And a lot of this mutual, which is, being thrown around, and maybe neither one of them wins this. And I've been saying that. I don't think that really they'll be able to prove defamation on either side, because I think that at the end of the day, they both probably have some significant evidence that the jury's going to say, you two need to learn how to play nice, right? Because you're both at fault, right? the problem I think that happened in this case, and the reason why it's exploded the way it has, is that you you have a person who, instead of moving on, decided to become the face of a movement that she
Yes.
probably
That
has
she
no
didn't
right to
belong
be
to.
the face of.
And
And then you wrote an article back by the ACLU about it. You can't do that and then cry about it. You if you're going to do that, you better be willing to step into those shoes and be able to defend it. I don't care if some lawyer at the ACLU decided to write an article for you and you put your name on it. You are the one that's going to get that blowback. And if you don't know how to handle it and you can't deal with the fire, then you probably should have not agreed to that.
well,
And that is, part of the issue, because Johnny wouldn't be suing her if that wasn't the case, because he wouldn't be able to blame it on that.
right.
Right?
And it
Hi,
was
Jen. She's back. She couldn't stay away.
Oh my God, I can't help
for
it.
for the lack of a better term, I'm gonna call it tacky. I don't know what that little girl was thinking. Getting
Right.
mixed up with the ACLU and being all like, I'll just be the poster child for this
Yep,
movement.
and she is not my voice.
And
In
I'll
my
get
survival, she is not my voice, so I am
and,
utterly disgusted by it.
and I'll get clout. And I think because I also feel like at some moment I have gotten steamrolled into something stupid and I have convinced myself that it's okay. And I've listened to the other people who wanted me to do the stupid thing. But at the end of the day, I then took responsibility for it. Like, you have that wake up call where you go, I am in over my head and what the hell? And she
You
just
don't go,
hasn't done
you
it.
don't, you don't go, oh, I took the MDMA because I thought that maybe I could play a little bit of referee in here, but still be the fun girlfriend. So I thought I was doing something good and beneficial because I was in a contained environment. What? What?
Well,
I
here,
I'm
Let-
sick for his kids because now she's like, oh, now the kids were involved in my abuse too. Stop. Just stop.
That is exactly to your point what I am disgusted by. It is about our children. So when you are like, truly, you have tried to your gut end to make things right. Truly. And kids should not be hurt and affected by these things. So her bringing that up, I'm just, God forgive me, but I don't want anyone in this life to be abused, male or female or child or human or anything.
Yeah.
It's the fact that this has been made such a huge skeptical. And Amber Heard, you are
spectacle,
not.
Jen. Spectacle,
Sorry,
not
skeptical. What is it? Spectacle.
Spectacle.
Okay, sorry.
You got it.
Amber Heard, you are not the voice of me and other survivors,
At
male,
all.
female, child, at all. And I'm sickened by it
And I'm just so disappointed.
completely.
Yeah.
I'm
And
just so disappointed.
and that's
And they
the
don't
thing.
need to be doing this. Neither one of them needs to be publicly doing this. So what is either of their end game? They're both rich. Children are being hurt. Families are being hurt. She is not an advocate of domestic violence, nor is Johnny Depp, no offense.
Well, and I'm going to take it from the mental health because that's where my stake is. As a person whose chemicals sometimes go a little unregulated, I will also say that at no point would I want to act out when my mental illness was at its worst and not be held accountable for that. So that this angle that we're taking now where it's like, well, she lied to Johnny because she's a sick woman. Well, that's okay. That's okay. Get her help. Get her into a hospital. Get her a therapist. Do anything but make her the poster child for abuse because her lie went a little too far because she was living in a delusion.
Thank you.
Right. And the thing is, like, I do think it's, admirable to whatever extent that Johnny is willing to say that he was abused. I just don't think it was just, I don't think there's a totally innocent person in this. But I don't think that his side would have been heard if he didn't do this.
Mm-hmm.
That
I
which is
find
why go ahead, Wendy.
I do agree. I do agree with that in
he
terms
was
of men should be heard too, for sure.
he was very, very okay. So she says he was he was very jealous of her liking women, of being with other women. I mean, this was a trigger for him, right?
What men is
It was
upset
something.
about that? Sorry.
Well, when
Maybe.
when you really have feelings and you're in love, yeah, insecure men are like that. They don't, like that. Well, they maybe want to see you all have sex, but that doesn't mean they want your affection and your love to be for that other person,
Right.
woman,
Right.
right? And they can't compete because they're a man, they
Or
are
man.
not
I
a
don't think
woman.
I think he was jealous of some men too. Yes. Just
Yeah, but he was very jealous of other women too. And I
yes.
see that. I've seen that. I've seen that in other situations where even when men are just really jealous of a good girlfriend, a close girlfriend, So you
Yep.
can imagine if they find out you're sleeping with your good girlfriend, it's a little bit different. So that can be a trigger for him. For me, he grew up with a very abusive mother. The guy that abused me grew up without his mother. She died when he was really young. And he always was so angry at everybody in the world, supposedly for that reason. Interestingly enough, my other abuser, he was more financial abuser. He was adopted and found out when he was 18 that he was adopted, right? And that's when he went off the rails and became this completely different human being and blamed the whole world for everything that was wrong with him, right? And he could do anything he wanted to anybody. And this was like a Mr. Hollywood kind of guy. But it was always, what I'm trying to say is that things always, they stem back to our childhood, obviously, right? And they both had questionable childhoods. He for sure, I didn't hear any abuse when she was talking about her childhood. Not
When
any at
I
all.
say that it comes from unhealed childhood trauma,
Yes, whatever that might be.
whatever it might be. It
Yeah.
could be abuse by a parent when you're very little. It could come from abandonment as a
Seeing
child,
abuse,
given up
maybe.
for adoption. It could come from a parent that passed and you didn't heal that trauma.
Yeah.
All of those things.
So
And I have to say that I do have compassion for my abuser in a way. And I know that that may sound crazy to some. It has sounded crazy to my family that loves and wants to protect me, but I still, for some reason, have compassion and in a
Yeah.
very healed, reflected way, because I feel sorry for the boy, but I don't feel sorry for the man, because we've
Yeah.
all been through so much in our lives.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Well,
And
and I'll be
and
the
I
person.
go ahead.
I'll say it. Hell, I'll say it. I didn't live through my entire 20s not being able to take responsibility for anything and being defensive every time someone said, "Hey, Natalie, that wasn't a smart call," because I wasn't traumatized or because I was ever in a safe space where it felt like I could make mistakes and I could grow and I would get empathy. So I'm sure Amber does have some of that in her back pocket, but also, I don't know, the girl has some growing to do. And Jen, to your point, that just means that you're on the other side of healing where it's like, I've done the work for me, and now I can put that outward into the universe. So I commend you for saying that you have compassion and empathy for your abuser, for abusers out there, because that's what we need in the world.
thank you so much for saying that, because I really, truly, I'm in the weeds of it. I'm currently in the weeds of it. And I really, really don't have this like compounded hate. I want the person to grow and heal and live a better life. I mean, I have 4 children with this person. I want that person to be a better person. What's most heartbreaking is when that person continues to fight and say that, and doesn't do the right thing. So that's what's hard. But again, I will never put down that person, name that person, or
Yeah, me too.
or
Same
negatively tell my my kids are half that person.
thing.
So there's no chance that I'm going to say something like, oh yeah, that person's terrible. I don't think the person's terrible. This person was a person that I loved very much and had children with. So the hope is healing and growth. Now you can't
Yes.
control whether that happens or not.
Yes. So yeah, and so to all of that, kudos, because I'm with you, Jen. I still, like, it took a long time, but I mean, all the functions that go on, my ex is there. I'm capable of being in the same place as him.
I
I'm
have a
capable
crack
of
up time
going.
with mine.
Was that?
I have a good time with my financial abuser, which was, really, I have a great time with him. If I see him,
Right.
woo, have a
So,
great time
you
together.
can, there's nothing wrong with saying you forgiven a person. That's not you don't condone, you don't justify their actions, you don't say they're still even in the right place. You're able to recognize that you have a specific illness, trouble, trauma, whatever, and your hope is that they get past it, but you recognize that the problem is bigger than just the person, and not every piece of that person is necessarily bad or wrong. And we all have those dualities in us. So that just goes without saying. In Amber's life, as far as trauma is concerned, they didn't harp on that today because they don't want that to be the focus, because her expert psychologist has already said that's not where her trauma comes from. So yeah, of course they didn't harp on it. But even so, if you had parents that exhibited domestic violence, which they did say, because she said, I called my mom because she's dealt with this, so I figured my mom would be somebody who would know and would be able to empathize with me and help guide me on how to deal with this or how to get out of this, right? So she did acknowledge that when a child is in that situation. And for her, I think this was the case, as in some of the other testimonies, that it was more of a neglect issue. And that is probably why she chases when somebody retreats. And this is why their relationship was so toxic, right? She couldn't handle, his protective mechanism was to leave, and her protective mechanism was to chase him because that triggered her when he left. And so round and round and round and round it went. There was no winning in this situation. They took too long to dissolve this relationship, which could have ended a whole lot differently had they not waited so long. But these type of people, when you look at her personality, now they didn't evaluate Johnny, but I'll bet there's some of this in there. But when you look at her personality, according to Dr. Curry, who I think her testimony just seems to line up a little bit more. When you look at her personality is like that. Her personality is big. Her personality draws attention. Her personality needs attention. So she's going to overly, flower. She's going to do all these things. And so did he. He gave her gifts, and he put her up in his penthouse, and he put her sister up and her best friend up in the penthouse, and he bought them all plane tickets. And she found out, oh my God, he has an island. What? Like, you own the island? Yes, he owns an island. That was the first time I found out he owned an island. She was in a whole different world, a whole different league. And he wooed her with that, right? He, not in the sense of trying to put one over on her. He was lavishing her, and she was, just soaking in that attention. That's how their personalities work. On the good side, great, but on the bad side, the flip side happened, and it just became this. It just became this terrible situation.
Because
but anyway,
because I think that they are both so similar, right? They're very similar to each other.
yeah.
She maybe has a more defined, whatever you clinically call it, right? But they neither one of them should be surprised by either one of their actions. I mean, seriously, he's Johnny Depp. She knows for sure his reputation. Everyone's known his reputation. Everybody knows Johnny Depp's reputation for getting drunk and this, doing that. Everybody knows that. Of course, she knows that also. She was 20-something years old. She was dying to get into the pants of Johnny Depp. Sorry,
and she would never have thought she had that opportunity, but she did. I saw a comment
do
that said,
anything.
Herein lies the whole matter of the fact that they are the worst example of what we've all been fighting for.
Truth.
In terms of domestic violence. Not just male, not just female. It is non-discriminatory. Domestic violence is not discriminated against race, color, creed, gender identification, male, female. It is real in every aspect of our lives. And the fact that this is now front and center in the example of what people are watching, it's a mockery. It's a mockery. And it's
so you think everybody's going to walk away from this, the general public is going to basically walk away from this thinking that's what domestic violence is. It's Hollywoodized.
It's a circus sideshow. Yeah. It's like, oh, this isn't, oh my God, look at this situation. How do we take this seriously?
It is a circus, but I think that the general public, the lay person, can see past the circus. I think they think a lot of Hollywood is a circus. I do think that one thing for sure that this does highlight is the fact that, as you said, it's across all boards and it knows no boundaries. And I do think it highlights that. I also think it highlights that it goes both ways, showing that it happens, like you said, there's no gender that makes this a thing. So, I do think that those things, and like Wendi said, awareness is awareness. And I don't think the public is so stupid that they're going to be duped into thinking that it's not a legit thing just because these two clowns are decided to air their dirty laundry over all of this stuff.
Can we hear what Bad Bunny has to say? Because he's up here on stage. You might be covering him up and not see him. Yeah. That's a problem with the video. Hey, bunny, funny. What's up? What do you think? We need a different gender in here. It's opinion. And don't be on stage and not on mic. Okay. Look at this. Watch.
That's what he's doing. We took too long.
My favorite part of every Wendi show is when she just starts calling out her audience and her guests. Like, well, are you going to talk or are you not going to talk?
That's how I got here, and then I never shut up. Can't help it.
All right, I'm going to tell you guys a funny comment that I read today. It was, I can't believe Disney fired Johnny for being drunk. Disney fired Johnny from being as a drunk. I can't remember, from a character that was more drunk than he is in real life, from a drunken pirate or something like this. Like, the drunk can't play the drunken pirate. Anyway.
Right. That came from his bodyguard guy. That came from the bald guy, the one we really liked a few days ago last week, where he said, no, I think Jack Sparrow was drunker than Johnny.
Oh, right. Exactly.
I also like to think that Waitbot and the fortune cookie are in cahoots and they're always listening, because the fortune cookie quote today is, "My wife accused me of being immature. I told her to get out of my fort." And that's like a real good summary of what's been going on.
Can't you write your own fortune cookie?
Yes,
you can. You can, but
this is not.
Oh my goodness!
No way! That's so crazy.
Yeah,
it's like when the radio's listening.
Yeah,
you can fill in your own fortune cookie. But hey, Bad Bunny, where are you? What are you doing? Gee whiz, it's such inappropriate protocol.
I want a male perspective. Can we get one? Tony,
Can
somebody.
We get Tony up here?
Tony's down there. Come on, Tony. Come talk with us.
Are y'all mad for Johnny? Are y'all on Amber's side?
Dale was like in the pre-show. What is going on?
Yeah, Dale was in the pre-show. Bad Bunny was chatting away, going, I have so much to say. Where are you, Bunny? Bad Bunny.
He did. No, I can't say anything personal, so I won't say anything. But he started to tell you the story about what happened to him today, right? But then he stopped
Yeah.
because he can't tell you, right?
No, it wasn't that, but we had
see,
other.
I got him.
There he is.
Come
Ooh.
on. He came off mic. He came off. There you are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a story. You better get up.
Really quick, I just wanted to point out it was really interesting what she had to say, and I wanted to get Deanna's point on that.
Wait a minute.
Which part?
Oh my gosh! Like, first of all, when she got knocked down to the ground, how many people could that have been through that? And then she was like, "Oh, and I saw the stains on the carpet. I finally noticed
how dirty the carpet was."
I was like, I've been there. Like when you get knocked into a location, it's like I never noticed this part of the ground, of the linoleum floor, or the marble floor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not trying to laugh like that. I'm really not saying this like in a joking matter because everyone knows that's a joke.
I don't think it's a joke. I took note of the fact that she noticed how dirty. I thought she had noticed how dirty the carpet was. Right.
That's right. Because for me, that was a key detail. Because it's like
remembered.
She sold, but at the same time, I'm playing devil's advocate. She sold it with that.
What's the clip?
Because it's
I don't know if you know, this is where I say that there are pieces that she sold and there are pieces that she didn't. And and you know, look, if somebody's got their foot in my back, probably not noticing the carpet. If I just got knocked down and I'm worried about not getting up and I'm just laying there because I'm afraid to get up, maybe I'm worried.
This is why Deanna's here. Good point.
Exactly. Thank you. Same point to what she said earlier about when you're getting chokehold, thrown up against the wall, you are not thinking about your feelings.
No.
Unless she's done a little EMDR therapy, because that's what my therapist makes me do. She makes me recall all of the details of the traumatic event. So maybe something triggered in her memory the dirty floor.
Natalie, that's not what we're saying though. Like you can recall what you can recall, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But in the situation, while it's happening, if somebody is choking you out, are you worried about the fact that he said you were embarrassing to her, or are you worried about breathing?
Probably
is the worst
breathing.
part of that experience, I can't breathe, I might die, or is the worst part of that experience, oh, Johnny was embarrassed of me.
Yeah.
My feelings were hurt. This is the kind of stuff that I go, okay, so what? She said this trial was the worst thing that ever happened to her. This experience, being drugged through this was the worst thing that's ever happened to her. And it's
not
like
how she grew up, or not her childhood, not how she was used as a human,
or not even
horse breaker to be thrown around at 15 years old off the horses because her father abused her that way. Yeah. That's what I heard.
What I heard is the horse was Johnny, and you learned how to be calm. You learned how to not have fear. You know what I mean? That was such a scripted leading. It was,
It screams of insecurity in your own story, because now you're grasping at details to try to be like, okay, what will people hook onto? And I don't know if it's like a fear of not being believed or a fear that your story isn't holding up to what's already been.
I think it's that second part.
Yeah.
She was being believed until this came out, and now she's not doing so great in this trial. You have to take everything into account. She changed her PR, her whole PR firm got changed over the weekend. If you don't think she was coached and there was a shift in the way they were going to present her case, we would be stupid not to think that. Mm-hmm. Because we, as normal, regular, everyday people, do not have a PR company behind us when we go into trial.
Oh, speak for yourself. No.
Okay, well, maybe you do, Wendi, because you cool like that and you hang with the cool kids. But guess what? The rest of us, we don't have a PR.
Believe me.
We go, oh my God, will this Aztec sweater offend somebody? I hope the judge isn't Native American. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't know. we just go in with what we got. That is not how they approach this. That is not what's happening here. And when you change your PR company and then you go into your part of the trial, when you're getting to take the stand, it's going to be your witnesses, and there is a shift in the way you're going to present, to the point of you put the psychologist on first, even though she was scheduled to go on first. That tells you right there everything you need to know as far as where they felt they were in the case, that they weren't confident enough to put Amber on the stand first.
And
they needed to.
It might be because they knew that she was the worst storyteller that they had. Because
they wanted an expert to rebut what the public has begun to believe, that that she's crazy and she's making this up and she over exaggerates and and all of these things. They needed their expert to rebut that, to paint her in a different light, to add some humanity to her. Because if you watch her even sitting, I said this to Wendi the other day, if you watch her sitting there, there's no emotion. There's nothing. She doesn't even chuckle at something that might seem ludicrous. Like, Johnny will sit on the side and somebody says something and he just like, are you serious? Like today he chuckled, he had to turn his chair around because something was said that he thought was so whatever. You could see his reaction to it, And then there are times where she's telling a story where his head is just down and I don't know what's processing because he won't let you see. But
I think that was kind of a good move.
Right, but there's processing going on though, and at least it's something. It's not sitting RBF unless your attorney talks to you and then you laugh with the attorney like, haha, inside joke.
I also saw him jotting things down.
Yeah, he's constantly writing. She is too. They're so I mean, she hasn't come off very well. Being stoic might be great if you have to endure something, but being stoic in this instance while you're sitting there listening to testimony about you is not, it's just not. The jury's watching you. It's not.
You are not stoic if you've been chokeholded against the wall. Bottom line. You are not.
No. And I don't care if it was 4 years ago or 6 years ago. It doesn't 100%. Matter.
Like at least
I can think about stuff that happened to me right now and it'll bring that visceral reaction.
100%. 100%.
Another thing is like the emotion, like the lack of emotion, the stoic. Yeah, of course. But at the same time, like I could bring up something and it will kind of bring like this fear or tears to my eyes that I will try to hold back. That wasn't happening. There was almost like a smugness to her at the same time.
Right. But like did you watch it? Do you watch it, Bad Bunny? Did you watch it today?
No, I saw the whole thing. Yeah, of course I did. And I want to also point out, just really quick, I want to point out the airplane thing where he grabbed the girl's hand. Like she described that not like she was scared. And also I felt like that was very insignificant.
It was trying to prove that he could be violent
because I'm pretty sure that airline flight attendant is going to testify. So we may find out about that. But I just feel like if you've watched it all day today, I don't think there were any wet eyes. There were no wet eyes. Like the face was all scrunched up and
yeah, she was also tilting her head to the side a lot. And that's an indication that she's trying to think of something.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
It's almost like she's rocking her head to kind of like think of something. Like she was kind of like glancing down and left. Like I pay attention to body language and there was nothing where she was looking forward and straight. Like Johnny, he was looking forward and straight for a lot of things. And yes, there were some things he found humorous. How could he not? Because it was ridiculous, some of the questions he was being asked. She's getting softball questions. You know what I'm saying? In order to...
We'll save that part for the cross-examination because that's where her attorneys are going to treat her soft and nice and they're going to go through it when she gets cross-examined. Hopefully, hopefully they won't be mean like her attorneys have been, but hopefully they do bring some heat. and some real questions so that we can see the juxtaposition. So
it's going to be interesting because I think her attorneys are going, his attorneys are, it's going to be interesting to see how they justify what she's claiming his behavior was. You know what I mean? Because his behavior sounds kind of like somebody that snorts coke, gets drunk, and has privilege, right? It really does. And they go, but I don't know. I don't really know. So this makes it a lot easier on us to have something to actually listen to that has some suspense or something to it, because I was going to kill myself last week if I had to listen to one more minute of this stupid trial.
it was rough up until yesterday.
So anyway, it's 8:45 here, and my husband is not in love with the fact that I do the show from 7 until whenever. Yeah, and he's probably out there going like this, I'm hungry. Where is that woman? Let me get the wooden spoon. When she gets out of there, she comes out. I'm just gonna.
All right, what does Deanna have to say about that? From a clinical.
Well, I don't know.
Anyway.
I mean, do you enjoy it, Wendi?
My husband never does that. My husband is the sweetest guy in the world.
Baby. I feel like it's very Austin Powers. Oh, baby.
I bought these little tiny these little wooden spoons. Well, when I was growing up, we were punished with the wooden spoon, right? That's how we got our spanking, with the wooden spoon. So that's where that comes from, and which was typical. Everybody got spanked with the wooden spoon. I mean, didn't they? All right, so you didn't.
Yes,
but I
that happened a lot. I actually have some issue with that when it comes to, what you'll accept later in life. I had this discussion with one of my other guests. Yeah. But anyway,
talk to my brothers about that, because they got the wooden spoon a whole hell of a lot more than I ever did.
Yeah,
we would scatter.
No wire hangers. I can't.
The grandkids would scatter if they heard my grandma Peg tell my great aunt Donna, "Hold on, Donna, these kids are getting out of hand," and she'd jiggle that drawer, and we would just run like you couldn't find us for days.
Exactly. Those kind of things are funny. This is finding the laughter after, you guys. It's kind of funny. But anyway.
But usually that's sometimes that we did something wrong. But if we were, legitimately beat because we were like abused by our parent or something, that we can laugh, after that. But like if it was like legitimate, like real abuse, we kind of would show some emotion to it. That's not what we got today with the.
Yes.
What is legitimate real abuse? What is that?
Like this is what I was trying to say. We did something wrong. We were punished. You know what I'm saying? We did something wrong. We were punished for it. Okay, we learned from that.
A consequence for your action is not abuse. We get that.
But when I mean, my interpretation of real abuse is like having someone who possibly is under the influence of something, and they're hitting your mother. They're hitting, you know what? There's going to be more on the show I'm doing with Wendi tomorrow. But you know what I'm trying to say, Deanna, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a difference when you're doing something out of anger and you are harming someone, whereas there's a difference, especially with your children. Like, everybody has consequences for their actions. We as adults do too. But when we're trying to teach our children, those consequences have to match the actions. Otherwise, it's abusive, for sure.
I'm on the move.
I don't know if I'm into corporal punishment. I don't know if that's the best way to handle it, but that's just me. And I think everybody has to do their own thing. So,
what's corporal punishment?
Spanking, spanking, spanking in the corner, physical punishment, kneeling on your knees.
I'm 67 years old. We used to get spanked. We used to get swatted in school.
So did I. Well, not in school. I did not have that in school.
Well, not girls. Girls didn't get swats, but guys got swats in school.
Yeah. I went to Catholic school.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's what you're
we got to end the show. Wendi needs to go. She needs to eat. I need to go to sleep. I got 3 hours of sleep last night. I'm really tired. Can you see my eyes? But we will pick this up again tomorrow. This was a great show. I'm really glad you guys joined, Jen and Natalie. jumping
Tony.
up on the stage and hanging out with us. Wendi, as always, thank you for doing this with us. Bad Bunny, thank you for finally unmiking. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to your show, Wendi and Bad Bunny. Wendi is interviewing, or I guess that's what you're calling it, interviewing Bad Bunny tomorrow. He's a guest.
He's
Yeah.
going to tell me a bunny
Straight from the hospital bed.
Straight from the hospital bed, which I still haven't found out about yet. I'll find out. Judy, Brandy, Tony, thanks for hanging out the whole show and listening. We appreciate you guys. And to all the people in cyberspace that might be listening, I think my YouTube finally simulcast tonight. So there's that. My phone says there's an issue with simulcasting, but it is simulcasting. So I don't know what that means. So anyway, we appreciate you guys. Stay safe. What do we say, Wendi? We're going to come up with this.
Yeah. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Stay free.
There you go. Just stay.
Okay, guys, I gotta go. Thank you, Deanna.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. We're gonna bring weight back up. That's all we got.